That should have been a red flag. I mean, all of it should have been a red flag. Should have been a red flag. Like, should have been a red flag.
Hey boos, in this video, I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss. I haven't done anything for you to be proud of.
Of course you have. You are marrying a man who can support you.
Hi ladies, it's Yoni and I'm back with another update. We are now entering into part 2. I have to be honest with you, this story is insane and it gets more insane. Also in real time, I got a DM yesterday. I'm keeping the individual anonymous, but the menace has a new girl and the person who found out about my YouTube channel is sending the new girl the videos. So let's be mindful. Let's be considerate in the comment section because she will be getting into witchcraft and I don't really know how to feel about this part of the story, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. But just be mindful in the comments because like I said, you don't know who you're helping with your comment. Now let's get into part 2.
Okay, so some of the things that I missed, I told y'all my brain is jumbled. But some of the things that I missed in the last part, one, everything that the menace was doing while the police were in my home was to get me out of character. The menace was trying to do everything he possibly could to get me out of character so he could prove to the police that I am a violent person. Every time I would go into different rooms to get certain things, to pack certain things, the menace was snatching things out of my hand. He was following me into every room and the police was not stopping him from leaving me alone at all. He was just allowing them to do that. And the menace is obviously taller than me and he would just stand over top of me while I'm walking. He would like walk on the back of my heels and do all of that to pretty much get me out of character while I'm with these police. So yeah, he did spit on me. Yes, that would have caused the fight, but I couldn't do that in the front of the police with the way that they were already acting. The menace's motive was to get me in jail this day, and I could not let him win. At the end of the night, when I came back with the entire paperwork and everything that I ever signed on the house, the police were still questioning me, and they were now telling me that the menace has proof of our marriage, and they're now telling me that I'm a liar, that I am married, and the menace has proof of it. And I was like, you know what? The MPs, which is the military police, already called you to get him out of my house, and that's what you're going to do. So now we know that the menace hid the marriage license. He forged my signature on the marriage license, and he was using that as leverage to be able to stay in my home. Also, one of the things that I missed, that around the time where the menace was starting to get comfortable and he was starting to tell me about what actually happened at the airport, he also told me a story about how he texted one of his friends, the one who gave him the perks, and asked if the perks were fake, and that person told them that yes, the perks were fake. The menace was now looking at me and was like, I don't know how the perks would have been fake. Like, they know I don't take fake drugs. They know I don't do that. They know I don't do that. So I don't even know why they would have given me fent. So now at this point, we know that the D-rugs are street D-rugs, and they were most definitely always fent. So his story went from prescriptions to possibly his dad's to definitely being street D-rugs from a vendor who intentionally gave him fent and he didn't know. The police incident that I believe happened on a Sunday, and that Monday I had to go to work. This is like the first week of May, I believe. So I'm on the phone with my mom, and my mom is telling me, she's like, hey, just come home, take a break for a minute. You need it. Like, you just went through a lot. Mind you, my mom and my best friend were on the phone the whole time the police were in and out of my house. They were on the phone with me all day, and I was giving them updates. They were on the phone while the police were in my house. They could hear everything the menace was saying. They could hear everything the police were saying. So they're literally witnessing what's going on with me in real time. My mom's on the phone with me. She's telling me to just come home. And at this point, I am breaking. I start to break. I'm crying. I'm scream crying. And I'm like, Mom, I can't come home. I can't come home. The menace just ruined my entire life. The menace smuggled drugs into Korea. He ruined my entire life. I can't come home, Mom. I'm so sorry. I can't come home. Me and my mom are now on the phone crying together. Like, we're crying. My mom's freaking out. This is the first time my mom is hearing anything of what's going on. She just thought that it was a breakup and I was sick of the menace, because by this time I had already been kind of expressing to my mom, my family, and everyone that like I was really getting tired of the menace, but they really didn't know why. Mom is like, hold on, like, hang tight, baby. Like, I'm going to get out there. I got to figure out how I'm going to get out there. I'm going to do what I can. I'll be right there. Like, just hold on. Let me get off the phone with you. Let me figure this out. My mom and I, we end up looking up flights for her to come to Korea. I sent her the money for a one-way. I was like, Mom, I don't have the money for a round trip right now, but here's the money for a one-way. Here's some extra spending money. Just book your flight. We'll figure it out later. We'll get you your flight back once you get here. So now my mom is scrambling, packing, and she's now geared to hop on the first flight coming out to Korea. So at this point, I'm going to work. The menace had a temporary like visitor's card. It only lasts for 3 months and it automatically turns off. He had a temporary visitor's card to get on and off base, because at first we were living on post. So I went to the office that issued that card and had them turn off the card. I let them know that this is an extremely dangerous person. You have to turn off the card. My life's in danger. He has no reason to be here. They turn off the card immediately. And then I go to security. And I'm like, hey, this person applying for a job on post, my life's in danger. He cannot get that job on post. So the security officer is like, hey, okay, what's his name? Then he's like, oh yeah, I just got like a notification for his background check or something like that. And I was like, oh, really? What's in his background? And the security officer is like, I can't tell you that, but just know I'm going to handle this for you. And I was like, okay, thank you. Mind you, the menace told me while he was in the process of telling me about this job that it didn't require a security clearance or a background check. Come to find out, it did. So he was never, ever in position to get that job. So at this point, I have to go get work clothes. The menace has ransacked my house. He has stolen half my work clothes. I can't put anything together to go to work in. And the next day, this is Monday. So Tuesday, I have to go to a conference 2 to 3 hours away from my military base. So I'm going to go get work clothes. If you know anything about me, I'm a little on the shorter side, and all of my work pants have to be tailored or they literally drag against the floor and I'm tripping and falling all over them. I didn't have time to do this. So this next Tuesday, I'm now at this conference with my pants just dragging, and I'm trying to hold my pants up so that they're not getting dirty and dragging all over the ground. Before even getting to this conference, the menace was consistently texting me back and forth, and his text messages were going from, I love you so much, like I would never do this to you, I would never cheat on you, to if you don't let me back in the house, if you are breaking up with me, I'm going to ruin your life. You cannot break up with me, I will ruin your life. He's also putting me in group chats with his sister. I end up blocking the menace because obviously I have to focus on work right now. I don't have time for this shit. And I'm at this conference and I'm mixing and mingling and networking with people that I need to know. I block him, and while I'm at this conference, I'm starting to get like phone calls, just phone calls. One, I'm not answering the phone calls or addressing them in any way, but one of the phone calls stood out to me because it was coming from the military base that I work on. If you know anything about working on military bases, the phone numbers all start with the same digits. So I knew that this was coming from base. So I step out, I answer the phone call, and the lady on the phone is like, hey, the menace is here at the front gate and he's trying to get on post. His visitor card is not working. It will not allow us to let him on. Do you grant him access to getting on post? I was like, no, absolutely not. My life is in danger. He cannot come on post. He has no reason to be there. And she says, okay. And we hang up. I started getting phone calls again from that same number. I answer it. She's like, he's saying that he has a job on post and he has the right to be on post. Is this true? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, no, he does not have a job on post. He has no reason to be on post. So at this point, I hang up the phone with her. Someone else calls me from the front gate and they're asking me questions, and I'm like, he cannot come on post. I was like, you know what? Let's alleviate all of this. I called the head of the security and the front gate. He's the head of the MPs and all of that. So I give him a call and I pretty much just give him a brief rundown. I'm trying not to put all of my business out there because this is just so much, but I'm like, hey, I'm dealing with a domestic violence situation. I put the menace out of my home. It was a lot. He stole multiple things from my home. I am no longer his sponsor. He cannot come on post. My life's in danger. The head of security immediately, while I'm on the phone, he calls down to the MPs and he's like, MPs, go down there, confiscate his card. And so I ended up finding out that the menace was also trying to get on post with his social security. Like, he was doing anything that he could to get on post. Once again, now you're bringing drama to my workplace. I've literally been in Korea for 2 months. 2 months. And all of this has happened in 2 months. And he's bringing drama to my workplace and at the front gate trying to convince convince the MPs and convince the front gate staff that he should have access to posts, where when he has no job on post, he isn't affiliated with the federal government at all, and he's a felon. So at this point, I unblock the menace because I want to know what's going through his head. I unblock him. He's sending me a whole bunch of messages. I'm not responding to any of them. He is now telling me that he has to get this job. Don't ruin his job. Don't ruin his chances at this job. And also he needs to get on base to get his tuxedo for his sister's wedding that's coming up shortly. I'm on the phone with my friends because I'm not responding to the menace. But I'm like, you lose access to me. You lose access to everything. You just did all of that. And now you want me to help you with your tuxedo for your sister's wedding. And you want me to help you and make sure that you're secured and you get a job on the military base that I work on? No. Mind you, I was never even going to tell this man about this job in the first place. I didn't want him to have the job to begin with. The menace at this point is now emailing me, and he sends me an email. In the subject of that email, it has the prosecutor's email address and it has my lawyer's email address. He sends me an email and it's pretty much a draft of what he's going to send to the prosecutors and the lawyer. And he tells me that if I don't respond to him by 8 p.m., he'll be sending this email off. The email consists of, I drafted up his father's doctor's note on his computer and sent it from his email and forwarded it and sent it to mine. He also says that I sell drugs and that my intent was to bring the rugs into Korea to sell them to Koreans because there's a drug thing that's, ramping up in Korea right now. And so that was my intent on why I brought my Adderall over here and why there was fent in my belongings. He also says that I'm extremely violent and I coerced him into making statements and once again provide the photos from when I bit him on his neck while he was raping me. He also says that he has video and photo evidence that I do drugs. So he sends me a screenshot of a video that he has of me. If you can remember from parts 1 through 14, the menace was consistently interrupting me while I was stretching, meditating, doing yoga, or trying to journal for myself. The menace was consistently interrupting me. The menace has a video of me doing yoga in the comfort of my home. I'm on the floor, I'm stretching in my home naked, and he sends that video to me and says that he's going to send that to the prosecutors and to my lawyer saying that I was high in that video. So also when my friends and family were in DC for my going away party, I was in the midst of hanging out with my friends and family, and the menace randomly sends me a text message and it says, "Do you want perks?" That something about him sending me that text message was just super eerie, and I couldn't put a finger on why. One, the only time I ever required a perk is for my migraines, and my migraines usually lasted for days. It was just really odd that the menace was sending me and asking me if I wanted perks, especially when I'm hanging out with my friends and family. The text message said, "Do you want perks?" I didn't respond to the menace in those moments, and then he says hello because I did not respond to him. My response to him was yes, as in like, why are you texting me? Mind you, he ruined my going away party, so I'm already irritated. I'm like, yes, and then he says, "Come to the bathroom," or something like that. I never went to the bathroom. I never responded to him. I kept going on with my life. So the menace has now screenshotted that text message and he's threatening to send it over to authorities. So in this moment, obviously, I already know that this stuff was a part of his plan, but now I know why I felt very eerie about that message when it was initially sent prior to even coming to Korea. This was always a plan. It was always a plot. It was always a setup. And that's what I'm really, really, truly coming to the realization of. The menace is now saying that in America, the slang word for fent is perks. And I always knew that I had fent, and I was always taking fent on purpose because the slang word for fent is perks in America. So in the meantime, my mom is arriving to Korea. I go and I pick her up from the airport. We check into a hotel near the airport and I'm catching her up on everything. I'm also reading the messages from the menace. In that moment, I wasn't responding to anything the menace was saying. I really didn't care. I think the one response that I ever had to the menace at this point was, I don't give a fuck. Do what you want to do. I don't care. Like, you're threatening me and you're trying to get me into a situation where I feel like I have to be with you and I have to stay with you to save my life. And at this point, I don't care. God will take care of it from here. I don't care. But what you're not going to do is put fear in me to stay in a relationship with you. So I think the one text that I had to the menace at this point was, I don't care. So I'm catching up my mom on everything. I'm reading the emails to her and my mom is like, absolutely not. You need to respond. I respond to the menace and my email can pretty much consist of pretty much outlining everything that he's done. And then it's also saying, you do realize that blackmail, defamation of character, and lying is illegal. I send that message off, and as I'm still updating my mom, I'm in my emails, and I am watching my emails delete before my eyes. So prior, when I went into the menace's phone, I deleted my email from his phone. I signed it out of his phone and deleted my email. So now I'm sitting here and I'm like, how did this man get back into my email? I'm on the phone with Google at this point, on hold with Google, because the hold was like 4 hours, and I'm in and out of my phone, and I go into the settings and I'm starting to sign out all like his accounts because he is signed in on multiple devices. I'm signing those out. I'm changing my passwords, and the menace is somehow still getting into my email even after signing everything out and changing my passwords multiple times. He's still somehow getting in. After that night, my mom and we get up the next day, and I believe this may be Thursday.
It was actually Wednesday.
At this point, my mom and we get up and we go to the embassy. We call the embassy before we get there, and we're pretty much like, do we need an appointment? What do we need to do? We need to come here. This is what's going on. So we go to the embassy, and they push us to the front of the line. There was no wait at the embassy because of what was going on. And I get to a rep at the embassy. They pretty much just give me like pamphlets, information. They take my report. They tell me they're going to follow up. I never got a follow up. Nothing. That's what happened at the embassy. There was nothing there. The day before, when I was on the phone with the head of security, he was like, I need to come into the office immediately and file a report with the MPs. So now we are heading back to my military base. Mind y'all, in these couple of days, I have gone 2 to 3 hours away to another military base. I've come like an hour or two from that military base to go pick my mom up from the airport. And now I'm heading back to my military base to file a report because the head of security told me that I need to make it a priority to come in and file a report so that we could get the ball rolling on getting the menace banned from the military bases in Korea. I go back to the MP station to start to file my report. Everything kind of starts flooding back in. The military police are asking me about everything that happened in Korea, and I'm going from start to finish about everything that happened in Korea, and now they're starting to ask me about things that happened in DC. Pretty much what led up to this point. Were there any red flags? In the beginning, I was like, no, there really wasn't any red flags. Then they started asking me prying questions, and I was like, oh shit. Actually, I'm sorry. There are a lot of red flags. My memory, it was just like, I just kept getting downloads, just downloads. Every time they asked me a question, I would think about it and I'd be like, shit. One of the things that the menace was doing to scare me while we were here, he kept telling me and kept reiterating that he has off 2 people in DC and got away with it. He murdered 2 people. And when I went through his phone, I remembered, like in this moment at the police station, I remembered when I went through his phone, I found notes in his phone, open case files of murder cases. I took pictures of those on my phone. I hid them. I put them in my hidden photos photo album on my phone. So now I'm going back into my folders and I'm trying to figure out like how I can prove this information. And those pictures are deleted from my hidden photos album. Obviously reporting to them that there may be some open cases. He may have murdered a few people and they may be cold cases in DC. We're just going down the list and I'm telling them everything, and I'm consistently getting downloads throughout this meeting, and I'm like, shit. This is when I realized also that I was SA'd. My memories from that night start coming back in this meeting. And I didn't have all the memories during this meeting, but I knew for a fact that I had been SA'd. The military police are now like, okay, well, we need to talk to CID. We need to tell CID what's going on. I was like, there is a person in CID who is friends with the menace. They have been hanging out. They've been going out to dinner. They've been going out and getting drinks together. Can you just please be sure that you don't meet with this person? They asked for his name. I didn't know his full name, but I knew a description of him and I knew his first name. So I provided that to the MPs. After this, the police are telling me that they're going to look into the menace's background. They're going to pretty much do what they can to get the menace out of here. The police are now telling me that they have to transfer my case to the KMPs. The KMPs are the Korean National Police. Obviously, I've already had a bad spell with them. I really didn't want to do this. I wanted the military police to handle it, but they said that it was out of their jurisdiction because I lived off post. Had I lived on post and had I been married to the menace, it would have been a lot different. But because I was not married to him and he had no affiliation to the US military and US government, there was not too much that they could do with him because he's just a random civilian in Korea. And now from here, I'm going to KMP station. They're ping-ponging me back from different stations. They're saying, this is out of my jurisdiction. This is out of my jurisdiction. And none of them are pretty much taking my case. So obviously I'm back on the phone with the MPs and I'm like, I've been running around all day. No one's taking my case. Like, what's going on? The military police step in again. They tell the Korean police, take her case. Obviously at this point, I'm starting to feel a little protected by my job. I don't feel any protection from the KMPs, but I feel some sort of like security and protection from my job. Now I'm at a Korean police station that is now taking my case. This is a police station that I had already been to and they turned me away before. I'm now able to kind of sit down and start telling them what's going on. This is at this point like at nighttime, I believe, maybe on a Thursday, I believe, and it was like nighttime. So I'm starting to tell them about the domestic violence, and prior to this day, maybe a week or two prior, and I believe it may have been a week prior to putting the menace out, there was a huge domestic violence situation that happened at a hotel room. Pretty much what happened is that the menace dragged me out of bed by my hair, dragged me across the floor, broke the sliding mirror door in the hotel room. He broke that door because he pretty much slammed me up against it, picked me up by my hair and started banging my head up against the wall. I was trying to get out of the hotel room. I was trying to get away from him. I was trying to get down to my car and I was trying to leave him. And the menace kept following me. He would not allow me to leave the hotel room. He wouldn't allow me to do anything. As I feel defeated, I can't get away from the menace. The menace is not allowing me to leave. Also, I at some point got into the car. I was trying to get away. The menace hopped into the car and he's now screaming at me, I can't leave him. I can't leave him. He's going to ruin my entire life. If he has to be leaving Korea, I'll be leaving too. He's going to frame me for everything. There is a camera in my car that pretty much records everything because you need those in Korea. The menace realizes that that camera is going and he snatches the camera out of my car. I'm trying to run, get back into the hotel room and not let him into the hotel. He's on my heels the whole time. So now I feel defeated. I can't get away from the menace. He's not allowing me to get away from him. I go to sleep on the couch that's in the hotel and the menace picks me up and slams me and my head hits the bedside table near the bed and it breaks the lamp in the hotel room. I'm now reporting this to the engine and now they give me a wristwatch. It looks like a smartwatch. If anything happens or if I see the menace, I can press a button and the police come immediately. So they give me that. We get the process rolling on getting my protection order against the menace. And that's pretty much all we can do at this point because it's nighttime and they're telling me that I have to come back the next day because I have to sit down with a translator. So when I get to my house, I think maybe this is like Friday. I'm not completely sure, but I believe this is Friday. I had my realtor come over to change the locks again. Also, the lock on my door is electronic. So while the menace was in my home with the police, he dismantled the lock to make it impossible for me to get into my home while he was there. So my realtor is also there to fix the lock. She also had to add my mother's fingerprint to the door. So in Korea, you can get into your homes from fingerprints at certain places. So she was doing that. My realtor at this point starts checking the cameras from my home, my doorbell camera. And the menace from Sunday to this Thursday or Friday that we're in the house, the realtor, he has come back to my house every single day and he has been ringing the doorbell on my home. Mind you, this whole week I've been staying in a hotel. He's been back at my house, pretty much stalking my house this whole time. The realtor is also going through the cameras and we realized that the menace has had women come into my home while I was at work. So we also see that on the camera. Another thing that we see is the neighbors. They were there when the police were there getting the menace out of the home when I wasn't allowed to be in the home. So it's important to note that everything that the menace is doing, has been doing, and is doing to this point is purely out of envy, purely out of control, and just purely to ruin my life. That was the intent. So my lawyer has already told the menace and I that this situation is going to be done the next prosecutor meeting. It will not go to trial. You'll be fine. The most you'll get is a fine. So at this point, I'm obviously inclined to just stick to the script. I know that's not the best thing to say, but that's my truth. To just get out of this situation, that's what I'm more inclined to do at this point. The menace knows that. I know that. Now I am back and forth from the KMP station and I'm back and forth to the MP station. I'm now sitting down with the MPs. I'm finishing up stuff with them, updating them on everything. And I'm with the MPs and my lawyer sends me over an email and a text message basically saying that the menace has sent he and the prosecutors an email. That email consists of everything that I've already told you that he was planning to send if I didn't get back with him and didn't respond to him by 8 p.m. So he sends that email over. 2 days later, the menace retracts that email and says that everything in that email was a lie. His ex-wife hacked into his email, wrote that email and sent it to them. Everything was a lie. The text messages and the video evidence and all that stuff that he sent over was from before he knew me, and the text message was edited to say my name. He says that he would never do anything like this. He and I are getting married and that he would never do that to his future wife. Mind y'all, I have not talked to the menace at this point. The menace is still trying to get in contact with me. He's trying to contact me from other numbers. He has created email accounts to get in contact with me on. So y'all, I have no knowledge of the menace having an ex-wife. So he's just inserting lies anywhere he can. Now I'm with the MPs and I'm thinking that the menace has to be running from something. The way that he's acting, he has to be like running from something or trying to get away from something. The way he's trying to grasp at straws cause to stay in Korea? Because why are you even still here at this point? You should have went back home. I asked the MPs, like, hey, did you check into his background? And they were like, yeah. I said, okay, does he have any warrants for his arrest? And they were like, he's definitely had a lot of warrants for his arrest. I'm like, okay, what's in his background? They go, we can't tell you what's in his background. We can't do that, but there's a lot there in Virginia. I'm like, Virginia? Mind you, I have told the MPs that the menace was born in Washington, D.C. So they're now like, wink, wink, Virginia. I'm like, okay. Now I'm back at the KMP station and I have a translator with me. The MPs told the Korean police to give me a female translator. So that's what I have. Thank God for the MPs. Thank God for my job and everybody at my job who band together to just have my back. Thank God for them. So I'm at the KMP station and we're moving forward with filing this report, pressing charges on the menace. The MPs told me not to bring up the situation at the airport because if I brought that up with the KMPs, they would immediately judge me and probably would just do something weird with my case. I'm starting to tell them about the stalking because now we have evidence that this man has been stalking me. He's been showing up to my job and he's been showing up to my home, pressing charges for the theft of my house. And I also am pressing charges for the domestic violence. So I start telling the Korean police about the domestic violence at the hotel. So they're like, okay, we'll get the CCTV footage from that. I'm like, I really don't know what's on the CCTV footage from the hallways and stuff because the domestic violence happened inside of the hotel room. But if they could get the audio, they could obviously hear the menace threatening me. Moving forward with that, and we're moving forward with getting a warrant for the menace's arrest. But in order for that warrant to go out, this case had to go to the prosecutors and everything that I said had to be proven true before a warrant could go out for the menace's arrest. They also have to call the menace into the police station to sit down with him as well. The KMPs are now asking me, what evidence do I have for domestic violence? Obviously, y'all, I took pictures from the domestic violence that happened in DC with the grape situation, with me having bruises all down my legs and having bruises on my arms. And I also had pictures from bruises that occurred in Korea. I go into my phone to get those pictures to send them over to them. They are all gone. They're deleted. Menace has deleted every bit of evidence that I have against him from my phone. If you're ever dealing with a narcissist, please be sure to any evidence that you have against them off of any personal device or any device that they've ever had access to, keep it on your work computer, print it out, put it somewhere that they don't have access to, somewhere outside of your home that they don't frequent. MPs at this point are obviously like, it's okay. We believe you. We're going to try to get what we can. We're going to look at CCTV footage from your home and we're going to look at CCTV footage from the hotel room. So I'm done with that particular meeting at the KMP station. We're going to come back to them because I have to go to this KMP station so many times throughout this process. We're done with that. I immediately hop on the phone with my best friend. I hop on the FaceTime with her and I'm like, bestie, look in Virginia. Look for his criminal record in Virginia. In Korea, I could not access US government websites without a VPN. And even after I did end up getting a VPN, it was still hard sometimes for me to get into government websites in Korea. So, in the US. So that's why I had to call my best friend to do this. So we're on FaceTime. She's sharing her screen. And obviously we start finding his criminal record in Virginia. I'm screenshotting that. I'm sending it over to my lawyer. A lot of what we found there was D-Rug related, obviously. At this point, talking to my best friend, I'm talking to my mom. We are kind of going back and forth as to whether or not I should hit up people from his past and hit up his exes. We're kind of like, it might not be a good idea. They might not be willing to talk. It just may not be that good of an idea. So now I'm coming to the conclusion that this is a spiritual attack. This is a spiritual attack. I don't know what to do, but I just feel like what's going on is just completely out of the flesh. It's just unworldly to me. I end up kind of sharing some of this information with some of my family members, and one of my family members is like, absolutely reach out to the exes. If anything, they're just going to tell you they don't want to talk, but at least you tried. Absolutely reach out to the exes. I reach out to some people in his past and I get in contact with his exes. One of these exes I ended up getting on the phone with. We got on the phone for hours. We were initially just talking over social media and she was like, girl, we need to get on the phone. So we get on the phone and y'all, I swear to you, I think me and this girl was on the phone for 8 hours, probably more. We were on the phone for a long time. We realized we pretty much went through the same situation. We were each other's support. Me and her ended up talking every single day for months. I'm not going to tell her story. That's her story to tell if she ever chooses to tell it. She was a lot of help throughout this situation, and I think like we were just both healing and we were just able to kind of figure some things out with each other. So I did ask her a few questions. One of the things that I asked was about the schmurders. Had he ever schmurdered anyone? She said no, she doesn't necessarily think that's true. She thinks that was just something that he was using to scare me, like a scare tactic. She's not sure if that's true, but she doesn't think it is. I asked her about the D-rugs, obviously, and this is where I found out that the menace takes D-rugs and one of his addictions is Fent. So it was always Fent. It was never anything else. It was always Fent. I end up finding out that he is addicted to PCP. He's addicted to Fent. He's addicted to coke. He's addicted to lean. Also, in this conversation, the ex tells me to be careful. She says that some of his family members, these are like fake family members, fake aunts and stuff like that, they are into witchcraft. She didn't use the exact term witchcraft, but she was just like, be careful who you have on your social media. Just keep a lookout for who's watching you because some of them are into witchcraft. So now we're gearing up to the second prosecutor's meeting. My first prosecutor's meeting was at Incheon International Airport, and then my second one was transferred to another city in Korea. Here's the email for that. You can pause to read, and then regulations down below. Prior to getting to this meeting, I'm talking to my lawyer and I'm updating him on what happened. The menace did all of this. Look at the emails he sent you. He sent you a text message thread asking me if I want perks. If that doesn't implement him, I don't know what does. Obviously, he's the person who always had perks. If he has to ask me if I want them, he's the person in possession. He's clearly spiraling. The first email he sent, he said all of that stuff just to retract it and say that it was all a lie. Then I'm also telling my lawyer to get the fingerprints and to get the DNA test on the rugs. The fingerprints and get the DNA test. So we get to this prosecutor meeting and my lawyer pulls me to the side in the beginning and he's like, I think you should just stick to the story. Stick to the story you already had. If you don't stick to that story, you're definitely going to trial. I think it's best for you to just stick to the story. So we go into this prosecutor meeting. They start asking me all the same questions about the Adderall and all this stuff. We take a break after the Adderall questioning and my lawyer pulls me to the side again and he goes, the menace sent those emails to the first prosecutors in a different location. I don't think that these prosecutors have them. Stick to your story. Don't change your story, or you're going to trial. So obviously, I'm inclined to tell the story because when I tell y'all I was about to go in there guns blazing and tell every freaking thing, that's what I was going to do. My lawyer said don't do that, so I didn't. Now we go back into the meeting and they're starting to ask me about defend. I'm immediately like, I didn't answer these questions in the beginning. You have to ask the menace. You have to ask the menace. You're going to have to sit down and talk to the menace about it. I didn't answer these questions. The prosecutors are now like, we have it right here that you answered the questions. You answered these questions. And I'm like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And so they're like, have you ever taken fent? And I was like, no, not to my knowledge. Now, not to my knowledge, not that I'm aware of, no. And they were like, did the menace ever take any rugs? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he has now. Yes. They were like, well, the first prosecutor meeting, you said that the menace didn't take any rugs. And I said, I never said that. That was a question directed to the menace. He answered that question. Why would I answer a question for the menace? I'm looking over at my lawyer. My lawyer's not saying anything. And now I'm looking at the translator and I'm like, you were there the first meeting. Say something. Why are they saying that I answered questions that I didn't answer in the first meeting? You're the one who translated the documents. She's like, I really don't remember. I really can't remember everything you said. And I really can't remember everything the menace said. Okay, so you're identifying that the menace made statements, right? That's what we're doing? Are you identifying that he made statements? Oh, I really can't remember. I'm now kind of going in on the translator and she's like, that's not how this works. You're the one being questioned about this. You're the one who's being tried about this. It was in your belongings and all of the statements go under you. We did not separate the statements. That's not true. I looked at the documents. You identified when the menace made statements and now you're saying that he didn't make any? Is that what we're doing? I am pissed in this meeting. They end up bringing out my D-rug test results. And obviously my rug test results come out positive. And they're like, why are these results positive? Because the menace gave me perks for my migraines. That's why they're positive. They're like, it's just this whole thing and I'm irritated. We end up ending the meeting. There's a lot that went on during that meeting. I don't even want to go into all of it.
So I'm trying to get through this video and edit this for you all out of love. But baby, when I tell you I'm frustrated with her, I'm frustrated with her because this is your fault. She previously caught this man using street drugs, yet she was taking pills from him consistently for migraines. The reason why she doesn't want to get into it is because it makes her look guilty. Let's be real. You have migraines to the point where your doctor is prescribing you prescriptions, yet you're still taking pills from a man that you know is using street drugs and you work for the government. Please, baby, I'm gonna need you to make that make sense. I understand that she's dealing with a narcissist and narcissists can put you through a lot mentally and emotionally, but this part for me does not make sense considering her job title, considering what she knew during that time. I would feel differently based off of her story if it went along the lines of, hey babe, I have my own prescription for migraines. Why don't you just take one of mine? And then you later find out it was fent. One thing about me, I give grace, but I do not enable. I've been young and I've been dumb, but to this degree, I think that's what's frustrating about it. She seems like a very smart, well-rounded young woman. So to see her in this position is disappointing. And all because she did not trust her intuition and she ignored the red flags. But listen, I'm gonna give her grace, but I have to be honest with you because grace is not enabling poor choices in behavior.
There was a lot, and pretty much they were pinning all of the menace's statements on me, long story short. And so now I'm in a position where I'm like, I need to fire my lawyer. Because you sat there and you let this happen and you never came to bat for me. You never said anything and you never corrected them or identified which statements the menace made versus which statements I did. And then this freaking translator, the translator who translated the documents is all of a sudden has amnesia.
See, this is the part that I don't agree with because she's blaming the translator, her lawyer, but sis, you need to look in the mirror. You got a positive drug test in a foreign country where you're being accused of smuggling drugs.
So after leaving this prosecuting meeting, I'm obviously get the ball rolling with trying to get another lawyer. I'm like, I need to fire this lawyer. This lawyer's not good for me. I'm contacting my job and I'm like, hey, I need another lawyer. How do I get the ball rolling on this? They're telling me that I have to contact lawyers off the list. When this first happened, there was a list that they sent me of Korean lawyers who are, I guess, zoned to work for the military. I had to look for another lawyer on that list. Well, I'll start contacting other lawyers on that list. They're not taking my case because this other lawyer who's on this list already has my case. They're pretty much not crossing paths with them. I guess they're a community and they weren't crossing him. So that happens. So from here, I get on the phone with the lady.
I'm going to have to narrate this part because she just keeps saying the lady, the lady. I'm assuming a psychic. She went from lawyer to I got on the phone with the lady and I'm just like, girl, who's the lady? Who did you talk to?
Y'all, I did talk to the lady. So this person came recommended. Get on the phone with her. First thing first, we're on FaceTime. She says, you're in a situation because someone else put you there. And I was like, yes. She was like, is this a court case? Yes. What's your name? What's his name? What's your birthdays? First shot into the combo. This is what it is. So she goes, oh, he put roots on you, sweetheart. And I was like, huh? She was like, he put roots on you. Just think about it. All the stuff that you went through, all the stuff that you let slide, everything that you've been through, you would have never in a million years gone through that. He is also not the type of person that you would pick. He put roots on you. She was like, you need to get a cleanse immediately. She goes on to say, he cloaked you. And I'm like, what? She's like, he cloaked you. He pretty much did something on you where you are now showing up in his aura and he's showing up in your light. So when you go and you speak to people who aren't spiritual, who don't know you, they're going to see him. They're going to see the manipulative liar that he is. And when people talk to him, they're going to see your characteristics. And I'm just like, what? She's like, you need to get that off of you. He cloaked you. She also goes on to say, this lawyer you have, get rid of him. He's going to ruin everything for you.
Girl, how do y'all feel about this? I believe in witchcraft, but what I don't agree with is how she's trying to put the blame all on witchcraft. That's just my opinion. Then again, she is telling a story and maybe I'm just interpreting it wrong. I don't know if this is her full outlook on the entire situation, but right here, it just kind of seems like she's trying to put it all on witchcraft. I do believe that some of this was due to her own naiveness and some of her own biasness because she wanted a relationship or she wanted to be with this man.
The work's already been done on him. Get rid of him. he's not good for you. She goes on to say, I wrote notes about the things she says. And she says, you're going to realize that people are going to lie. There are going to be documents that are missing. People are going to remove documents from case files or lie about the contents of documents in case files. People are not going to do their jobs. Police aren't going to do their jobs. Your lawyer's not going to do their jobs. And everyone pretty much surrounding this situation isn't going to do their jobs. They had done their jobs. This would have been done a long time ago. They would have figured out that it was him and not you. She goes, they're going to tamper with evidence and lose vital evidence surrounding this. You need to get a cleanse. She also says that you were under mind control. She was like, you're going to realize that you have lost a lot of memory. You're going to lose a lot of memory. And when you're talking to authorities, when you're talking to people, you're just going to randomly lose memory until this is off of you. So she's like, yeah, we need to get some work done on you. So, I'm asking about how much it is. She's like, I'm going to tell you now, it's expensive, hun. I know that you're doing a lot for this case, but it's expensive. And I'm like, okay. So from there, I end up going to someone that I know that I also trust. I don't know why I didn't think about going to this person before, or I think I did, but I talked to them briefly and not really about everything. So from there, I end up going to someone else that I've known for a very long time, and that person ended up putting protections over me. From these conversations as well, they were like, your trial is going to end in February. Don't worry about anything. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to end in February. So I went to the second lady and then I went back to the first lady because the first lady just spoke in terms that I understood. I could just understand everything she was talking about. The second lady, I could understand her as well, but the first person just spoke to me directly. I didn't have to think too much. When I go back to her, she ends up saying, okay, you're protected now. You're fine. They can't touch you anymore. Mind you, I didn't tell her that I went to someone else to put protections on me. So this second meeting, she instantly knows that I'm now protected and that they can't touch me anymore. She goes, you're protected now. They can't touch you. They can't mess with you like that anymore. But I need you to know they're doing stuff over the people around you. She was like, please don't trust anyone in this time. You're going to notice that people around you are going to want information. They're going to try to gather information from you, but they're only using that to help the other side. They're going to do work on the courts. They've already done work on your lawyer. They're going to do work on the judges. They're going to do work on the prosecutors. Keep that in mind. So I asked her, did he do this himself? She was like, no, he's stupid. He's too dumb to do something like this. He didn't do it. People close to him did it. And she goes, does he have aunts? And I was like, yeah, but they're not blood relatives. She was like, that doesn't matter. So I showed her pictures of the people who I knew who were connected to him. And immediately she's like, oh, you got problems on your hands. You got problems. I also asked, why would he do this? Like, why would he do all of this? And she was like, he knew that at some point you were going to realize who he was. At some point, something was going to fade. You were going to realize. And so he had to do something to keep you there. She goes, don't think for one second that this wasn't a plot. It was all planned. He was going to do this regardless. And as you know, we've already kind of come to those conclusions. Also, what was said was, you are protected now, but until you fully cleanse, that doesn't mean that some of the effects won't still linger and you won't still deal with some of the things that they put over you. I also asked, when did this happen? And she said from the very beginning. It happened in the very, very beginning. And that brought me back to the menace posting pictures of me on social media in the very beginning, and his aunt calling him, and they were saying, that's the one for you. That's the one you're going to get married to. I can tell that that's the one. And those moments when they were doing that, something was just really weird and off about that, because you don't know me. You don't know anything about me. And from a picture, you're now saying that I'm going to marry the menace. That was odd. So that just brought me back to a flashback of that. And that's probably when the work started. Also, we did talk about destiny swapping, and obviously that kind of coincide with the cloak situation. So he did try to destiny swap with me. And she, at the end of it all, she was just like, don't beat yourself up. She was like, there was nothing you could have done to get out of this. There was nothing that you could have done to change it. This was just a part of their plan. Don't beat yourself up. You went through all of this because they put all of this work on you. So now, obviously, we know that every time I had memory loss, or every time I was in the middle of the conversation and could feel my memory and my brain kind of switching into what he was saying, that was a part of the mind control. And then everything else, I'm sure y'all could put that together.
I have to be honest and transparent with my audience. I have to be real with y'all. I don't know how to feel about this. So don't judge me too harshly when it comes to my opinions and my commentary regarding this particular story, because when I tell you, I don't know, I don't want to dismiss or invalidate her experience. I've never had root work done on me. I've never witnessed anyone have root work on them. I'm just going to leave it at that, but I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on the situation. mentioned. I will be back for part 3 because she gets into the neighbors. That's where she starts off in the next part. And if you're new here, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you in my next one.